Well, I know when we talked, yeah, you were, I was like,
And she knows everything.
and you know, that's something the city's really
rename it,
get into.
No.
They always want us to pursue their covenants and restrictions.
Anyone that gives me $50,000,
I think I'm gonna start
that agricultural center.
That's cheap.
Your neighborhood, what neighborhood?
$100,000.
Squirrels?
I'd like to call the regular meeting of the South Daytona City Council to order. Roll call, please, Debbie.
Vice Mayor Young.
Here.
Councilwoman Long. Here. Councilwoman O'Neill. Here. Councilman Schoner.
Here.
Mayor Hall.
Here.
Mr. Simpson.
Here.
Mr. Yarborough.
Everybody would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation. Mr. Yarborough, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening and ask that you be with us, be with this elected body particularly, help guide their thoughts with their heart and their mind. Let them reflect decisions that's in the best interest of this community and on our kingdom here on earth. It's in your name that we come.
If I could get a motion for the approval of the minutes of December the 12th, 2017, please.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Citizens to be heard. Comments on any issue or agenda item. Anybody who would like to speak about anything on the agenda, in the world, anything that's on your mind, the weather, whatever you'd like to speak about, please come forward, and this is your opportunity.
I think you covered everything?
Did I cover everything?
I think you did.
Okay, just checking. Yes, sir. Please come.
Other new business?
This is your time to speak. Yes, sir. If you would, please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Harvey Bonin. Forgive me, sometimes I can't hear you. I'm hard of hearing,
I know the feeling.
and the hearing aids only do so much. I just have questions on some of the things that are coming up. Let me look at which one it is. The funding for which Volusia County is requesting from the city of South Daytona for the homeless. I don't have enough information actually to have a judgment one way or the other, but I realize that I live in South Daytona, and I expect you all to take care of the citizens of South Daytona. If we're going to give them X amount of dollars, what's the criteria for being homeless and being acceptable to be in that facility? And the reason why I say that is there are some people that wish to be homeless. If they wish to be homeless, I'm not trying to be unsympathetic, but if they wish to be homeless, it's not my responsibility. If they're homeless because of no fault of their own, I'm as sympathetic as the next guy. So what kind of criteria is taking place before the city is going to give them X amount of dollars? And I realize that there are other cities involved as well.
I'll tackle that one if you like. I'm on the First Step Shelter Board, and the First Step Shelter Board is a nonprofit organization that was formed by the city of Daytona Beach to address the homeless problem in Volusia County, not just the cities. So Volusia County government and the city of Daytona Beach agreed after almost a year to build a shelter. And the shelter is going to be built out on 92. Now, law enforcement's hands are tied sometimes when it comes to the street people, the people that choose to live on the streets, or for, like you said, no fault of their own, that's where they end up. There's no place to put them, there's no place to house them, there's no place for them to get medical attention, there's no place that is here in Volusia County where they have the opportunity to get treatment or to get clean clothes and showers and all that, other than a few beds at the Salvation Army. So what the governments have decided, meaning all of us have basically signed on or have stepped up to do that, is to contribute a small portion of our budget to the First Step Shelter, Inc., to build and run this shelter out on 92, to give law enforcement and the folks on the street a place to go. That help?
It helps to a point.
Okay.
What's the criteria for the homeless to be eligible to go in there?
Well, right now, the criteria hasn't been established, other than there is a running list, if you will, of identifiable homeless people. And I've seen a lot of posts around where folks are out panhandling and begging that are not homeless. I saw one the other day where in a city north of ours, they were supposedly panhandling and they went and got in a four-door Saab and drove away. So hopefully they wouldn't qualify, okay?
But they also could be arrested, and that's what we can't do.
That's right. We can't arrest them because there's not a place to take them. There's a court case out of Miami, and it's called the got a name, has a name.
Hunter?
One more time.
Hunter versus Miami?
Yes, Act, that police can't do anything about them unless there isn't a jail diversion or an alternative place for them to go. So we're hoping that in the next 18 months, when First Step Shelter is constructed, that there'll be a place for them to go and to get the services that many of them want, but there isn't any here in Volusia County currently.
Oh, I agree. Wholeheartedly agree to people that deserve to have it. My question is, we need to separate the ones that wish to be homeless and the ones that, due to no fault of their own, ended up in that situation.
And I don't think anybody would disagree with you. Like I said, for the last 18 months, last year really, we've been trying to flesh this thing out. And there is some criteria that we're going to have to establish. Catholic Charities has stepped up, and we agreed last month to sign a contract with Catholic Charities. And part of the admission to the homeless shelter is going to be a ID card is going to be issued through the Daytona Beach Police Department, that they've done a NCIC, FCIC check. They're not wanted, they're not convicted felons, that kind of, well, I guess even convicted felons can come, but they're not wanted. And they'll be given an ID card, so they've been vetted, and hopefully that'll be part of the process that you and I are talking about. But right now, there is no criteria established other than we find them living on the streets.
Okay. You answered my question.
Thanks, sir.
The other one that I'm looking at is the septic tank situation, where you want to, and unfortunately, I'm on a septic tank.
Well, this will be a benefit for you.
Well,
But I'll let Mr. Yarborough handle it, because he's been the one that's been doing the grants.
well,
And we
let me,
actually have a meeting coming up in next month.
Is the septic tank on here?
Yeah, it's September the 8th.
No, it's February the 8th.
February the 8th.
February the 8th.
February.
Yeah.
You got a letter from the city.
I didn't get a letter yet.
Well,
Some people haven't received them yet, because I checked with a friend of mine.
okay, the letter explains the whole program, and it tells you why you're making a big mistake if you don't take the 4,500, because it'll take you 12 and a half years, the difference in the payment to be on septic versus if you don't take advantage of it, the program's gone, you gotta pay that money, because you can't fix your septic tank, and you can't get a permit to fix your septic tank, and you're gonna get tired of pumping when it fails. So all that'll be flushed out at that meeting. Big Ticket Center starts at 6 p.m. And that's, or you call me at the office, I'll be glad to go over it with you. It's just a once in a, what I call a lifetime grant we got, and I'd give anything in the world if we'd had it when we put in these sewers. By the way, it's against the law not to be hooked up according to the Florida statutes, but we don't enforce that.
Well, right now, it's not down my street, so,
Right, which,
And you wouldn't have got a letter if you don't have it available.
okay. Just some insight. My family we're both disabled. We're about on fixed income. Everything's about cost. And so, the last raise that we got for Social Security, to make it simple, I got $12 a year less this year than I had last year. Because insurance took the whole raise that we got. So every time it's gonna cost me money, where am I gonna, that's the idea.
It just doesn't affect you because you don't have sewer out there.
No, but someday I may. And then, of course, then there's an additional, whatever it is I use in water, let's say it's an additional $60 or $80 a month. It's $60 or $80 a month. In my case, I don't have, and I can't pull it from somewhere.
Okay.
And I'm sure there's other people like me and the seniors and so forth, they're in the same situation.
We're not gonna arm twist anybody to hook up. It's gonna be an available program. We have 212, the last number I saw.
112 with sewer available that haven't hooked up.
So,
Okay. That's all I have for right now.
awesome, thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience would like to get up and speak about anything? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few items of interest. All of you, be sure you remember 5 p.m., February the 1st, Piggott Center, joint meeting between the school board and you. The first ever. You want to be able to explore what's going on with the South Daytona Elementary and, of course, where we hope to be going in the future. For any of you wondering how this is going to go, we met with the mayor and I met with the school superintendent. They're putting a little agenda together. And they understand our major concerns. The school superintendent does, and some of them of which I would caution you not to go down that road too hard right now, but they are going to tell us what they're going to do about the grades and perhaps what the future zoning holds. February the 8th, week later, septic sewer meeting. Piggott Center starts at 6 p.m. Hopefully, we mailed out all the letters. You should have gotten a draft up inviting everyone. Come, everybody you get a copy of that draft? You saw it? Yeah, okay. That went out, and everyone should have them by the end of this week. Hopefully, we'll have a good turnout, and hopefully, we'll have a lot of folks that will take advantage of it. So you understand briefly, we expect to have enough grant funds to do 97%. If we have more than that, and I'll be jumping up there, we'll get 75%. But if we end up with more than that, then what we actually have the funds for, I'm going to recommend we find ways to go ahead and hook them up under this program. But there has to be a stop date, but I don't think we need to worry about that at this stage. Race and Rec grant, if you remember during the budget, we asked that you identify, was it $34,000 for scoreboards so we could see what quarter it was in, how much time was left at a ball field, and we didn't do too well today. We're among all the cities except Daytona that didn't get funded through Race and Rec, and the only thing got funded in Daytona was the Peabody. The rest of it went to schools and et cetera. Jackie Robinson, but there's hope. There's another bite at that before the year is out. Sure wish we'd get those fixed though before season starts. Half-cent sales tax that we have discussed in the past for infrastructure is getting traction. I'll have you the resolution asking that the county hold the referendum at your meeting in February. Hopefully all the cities remain on board. They adopt identical resolution. The resolution goes to the county council. Our meetings with the county staff seem to think that the support is there to hold the referendum. It's going to be quite a campaign to educate the public. There will be an effort to draw in some private funding to tell people how to vote. You as a public entity can only talk about what the advantages and disadvantages are, as you well know. Stay tuned, and oh, by the way, it's around 700,000+ estimated for the city every year, which can be used for water quality, road improvements and enhancements. It can be used for that traffic video cams that we've been wanting, that we have to run the fiber optics for. There's a litany of projects, of which I'll be bringing those, at least for the first 4 or 5 years of funding, to your attention. More importantly, when you talk to the public about it, remember that the money this half-cent sales tax generates, 40% is coming out of visitors to our area that spend their money here. Number two, I think it's important to remember that it is a tax that will have projects identified by cities. So when, you know, we do it, put in our newsletter, we tell them, look, this is what you can expect, and this money can be leveraged with TPO to where you get a 3-to-1 return. And that's, I think, very important as well. Right now, you don't really have it. Finally, a note of concern. I just got a copy of a bill that's being introduced in the Senate and the House to change election dates. And my reading of that bill tells us that, guess what? Yep. We will not have a election in August if it passes. It will be in November for a general election. If you recall, we have our general election in August, and we're not the only ones. We did this because at the time the election clerk, Danny Lowe, came to us and asked us for all the cities to get on an August election date. Our general is in August and our runoff, if necessary, is in November. This would change to where everyone in office would stay on until November. And I don't know what we'll do for a runoff, Scott. We haven't really got into it yet, but the general would be, I guess,
So they have a
reverse and have a primary. I don't know, but we'll get into it. The bill is being ardently opposed by the League of Cities as another grab on home rule. Leave us alone. Let us take care of our own. We're closest to the people, but the state, for some reason, knows how to do it better. That's all I have to report, Mr. Council.
Thank you, Stuart. City Attorney's report.
No comments, sir.
Under new business, consideration of declaring Barracuda spam filter and Barracuda message archiver as surplus and authorizing their sale as rebate to the supplier. Mr. Yarboe?
Let me tell you what we're doing. We've lost our server twice in the last 2 hurricanes, or 3 or 4 hurricanes, I don't know, but we've been down. At my encouragement, staff did some research, found it's time to move to a cloud. Everybody, I think, knows that's an off-site place that they store this stuff and they perform the same services. This doesn't have anything to do with the PD. This is for City General. What you're doing is you're actually doing a trade-in of the equipment for a $4,000 credit. One piece of equipment was bought in 2009, and it was around $4,000. Another piece of the equipment was bought in 2012, and it was around $11,000. Both of these pieces of equipment are being traded in, and we're off to the races in the cloud. No fiscal, no.
Is this going to help with our ransom, possibility of ransomware? Is that part of it?
I had thought about ransom. I did read about that city that refused to pay. It's supposed to be secure, if that was your question, Councilman. And it will also have the storage, that, you know, for recall, for public record purpose.
Okay, so the main reason is for storage.
Well, yeah, and it also spams it. I think it provides a...
You're also not tied to that particular piece of hardware. So when you're up there in the cloud, we could get flooded out here at City Hall. We're still going to be able to have our email and those kinds of things, and public records and that information. So, yeah. And to answer your question, what I know about cloud computing and what we've done with where I work and stuff, absolutely, it's more up to date with the ransomware and the malware and all that stuff. So,
Is there a future cost?
Obviously. It's part of, we have been paying along anyway, so it's not a fiscal.
you're paying to a cloud versus to.
Well, yeah, we're just swapping out. We're
Yeah.
getting credit.
Yeah.
I need a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Scott, if you would, Resolution 18-01, please, by title only.
Resolution number 18-01 by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City of South Daytona, Florida, approving financial support and authorizing a funding contribution to First Step Shelter, Inc., and setting forth an effective date.
Mr. Chairman,
Do you want to get a motion in second since
I'd be glad to. I need a motion and a second, please.
Move for approval?
Second.
What you're doing here essentially is memorizing what we hope to be the intent from the appropriation. In other words, you're saying that it doesn't look like we're going to probably need to be spending this fiscal year. It's not going to be open until next fiscal year. But the money is there, and it has been appropriated, which is what we represented to Daytona Beach.
Yeah, the only comment that I would like to make, since I sit on that board, is I saw a proposal today, and I have no idea if it's going to pass, that they're talking about a temporary shelter to the tune of $149,000 at a different location. So I don't know if that would qualify as a CO.
Well, you can
They're talking about having it ready in 60 days.
What I think the mayor's saying is we didn't want the money given to Daytona Beach until there was a place for these homeless to go.
Right.
If a place is identified for the homeless to go, I assume you qualify this resolution to, notwithstanding a temporary facility. Would that be all right? All right, so what you're doing is needing a motion, Mr. Mayor, says notwithstanding a temporary facility or a bridge facility, to amend the resolution.
You want to amend it to section 2 and say the new permanent shelter?
It's not I'll have to pull out the
Section 2 says certificate of occupancy for the new shelter. Doesn't say permanent shelter, doesn't say temporary shelter, just says first shelter.
So if we say permanent shelter, is that solving your temporary?
But is the idea that we would give the money if there was a temporary shelter, or only if it's a permanent shelter?
Well, it doesn't. I didn't find out about the temporary shelter until the other day.
Well, I understand. But what's this body's intent? I think what Brandon's talking about, if that language goes in, then our funding doesn't go in the event they establish a temporary shelter. As worded right now, assuming a certificate of occupancy is issued for a temporary structure, which I think it is, isn't it?
It would have to be.
Is John?
Well, you could make it clear that you consider a temporary structure a new shelter. It's better, we don't have anything.
I guess what I'm getting is I wonder, are we better off saying this money's tied to the permanent shelter, and if they build a temporary shelter, then coming back and deciding we want to release some funding there versus getting into a ticky-tack 60 days down the road?
Yeah. Well, just give me some clarity on what y'all want to do, and I'll be sure to do it. I would think, I'm kind of like the mayor, if they've got a place we now can take.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It'll meet all of the criteria of the building.
Yeah.
It just won't be a brick and mortar building, from at least the proposal that I saw today.
So what I guess I'm asking, let's just say this, is there anybody opposed of your city manager interpreting a new shelter as a facility that these homeless can be taken to? If that's the case, if there's not a problem with that, I'm fine. I'll just interpret it temporary as a new shelter.
And this will stay open until the permanent shelters?
That's
Okay.
Well, again, I just got it today, and we meet next week. We meet on the 30th to discuss this.
Okay.
But I didn't want to surprise anybody, because I do know about it.
Mayor, what are they trying to do? Try to take care of Tent City there on Bellevue?
They are trying to take care of a tent city on LPGA. They want to build one on LPGA out by the
They're
south.
getting away from your place.
Yes, they want to move it from,
North.
Correct.
and they want to bring showers in, and they want to bring in a bathhouse and
Yeah.
a medical trailer, and have security there.
I had wondered if we were going to get to Speed Weeks and have all that right there. So.
My understanding is it could be done in somewhere maximum 60 days.
Okay, I haven't heard anybody tell me you have no problem with me interpreting a new shelter.
How do they intend to pay for that?
How do they intend to pay for the shelter? The temporary, right now, the First Step Shelter Board, Inc., or First Step Shelter, Inc., has a balance of about $600,000 in their coffers. The city of Daytona Beach already committed $400,000, and then other cities and private donations are somewhere in this. It's not quite $600,000, so they would pay for it out of that funding.
I guess my only point is the 30,000 that we, 30,500 that we dedicated, that's a one-shot deal at this point.
It is.
Just with that understanding, I mean, whether they use it for the temporary or the
Right.
permanent one.
Now, we haven't, I know they're asking for multiple years, but nobody's committed to multiple years yet.
I don't have any objection to what the city manager, and I might have misunderstood the mayor's point on that. I was just,
I just didn't want y'all to be surprised if
Correct.
on Wednesday
No.
morning you got up and saw that
yeah.
this was
Okay.
different.
So we have some latitude to accept the shelter as a shelter.
Yeah.
Good enough.
I do have one question, just to speak to your point. I know nobody wants to commit on multiple years. We're doing this on a, for choice of the proper word's missing me, but head count of our citizens, right? You're doing this on a,
There's a nexus between the homeless, our population.
and the cost to run the facility.
Actually, it's a formula based on budget. It's a percentage of everyone's budget. If you did it on population, then a town like Poncelna would
Pay next to nothing.
Yeah, $2,500, whereas it's not a nexus based on population, it's a nexus based on our budget.
Okay.
It's a convoluted formula, but
Yeah, but I thought we backed in there. I can't remember. I saw so many. You're probably correct.
It was a capitation rate, wasn't it?
sir,
It was a capitation rate based, like you said, based on our budget.
based on our budget, it's
Yeah.
some percentage of our overall budget.
What I'm getting at is that for some reason, the operating costs really jump up there, and I think this might be where Councilor Shiner was coming at. If it really jumps up in these new rates, they come at new things. Ours is still going to probably, if they use that same formula, increase at the accordingly
It wouldn't be
percentage.
just ours, it'd be the entire county.
That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
Ours would increase with the proper percentage based on that same formula.
Well, again, being additional information on the board, Catholic Charities is given a budget, and they have to meet the goals with the budget. Now, the way we envision it is that the budget says you can only do 65 people this year. Well, you
That's
can
why
only
I
do
do
65
people.
Yeah, I hear you.
If it says you can do 165, then you do 165.
Gotcha.
Obviously, this whole thing's
Levers.
reevaluated once it gets rolled.
Oh, absolutely.
Levers to turn.
But the county and the city of Daytona Beach have both committed the big money to get it rolling.
Yep.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Scott, if you would, resolution 18-02.
Resolution number 18-02 by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City of South Daytona authorizing the city manager or his designee to apply for a St. Johns River Water Management District cost share grant for the abandonment of septic tanks and connection of former septic tank users to city sewer project, and calling a public meeting on February 8, 2018, providing for conflicting resolutions, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
I need a motion, please.
Move for approval. Second.
Okay, what you're doing here, members of the council, is you're authorizing us to file for a grant, which is, there's 3 legs to funding for this project. And this would be the second leg. This would be the St. Johns River Water Management District, where we can take the first leg, $500,000 that was appropriated by the legislature last year, and use it for the match to pick up a couple $100,000 plus from St. John's, to then also file for the last leg, $100,000+ from CDBG funds, Community Development Block Grant funds, to get us up to a maximum of $125,930. Now, based on $4,500 a home, that'll do 183 homes. We've identified 212 in the city that qualify for this grant fund. Now, we haven't bid it. It could go up. It could be more than 4,500. It could come down as an average. But what we'll be able to do is, if we happen to be so fortunate to get over 183 homes, you'll be able to generate enough revenue from this program in your utility department to make that bridge to the other, 19 homes, is that right? 29 homes. Everybody follow me? So what you're representing to the public is this will sunset. It won't go on forever. We got a window to spend these funds. But if we end up with more than we have funds for, we will accommodate them. Everybody feel comfortable with that? Okay. Oh, as one of the conditions from St. John's, they want to see how many have committed. So we're hustling with the letter, trying to get the commitments. They said if you can get, I think it was 50%, you've done better than any city so far they've been party to. That's finished.
I hope at the workshop that everybody recognizes how fortunate we are to get this kind of a deal.
Oh, it's a grand slam.
It's unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to commend staff because, I mean, this has been a big issue on that environmental committee that I'm on. How can we help citizens afford switching from septic to sewer? And the fact that you've been able to get these grants and it will cost the city nothing and the people will be able to get the sewer hookup, and it's just so good for the environment because we're sitting right on the riverfront. So I think excellent job by staff.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. Scott, if you would, for me, ordinance 18-01.
Ordinance number 18-01 by title only for first reading. An ordinance of the City of South Daytona, Florida, amending sections 20-11, 20-14, and 20-17 of the City of South Daytona Code of Ordinance dealing with commercial industrial waste, providing for severability, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date.
Need a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Yarborough, discussion.
Ever so often, I think here lately, it's been about every other year, I could be wrong, Daytona Beach gets a visit by DEP and have to update what they'll take to their sewer plant. And they make all those cities adopt the same ordinance, which they should, that says thou shalt not dump this, 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 and this into your sewer system, because eventually it ends up at their plant and then they have to try to process it. DEP is a revolving agency with its rules and regulations.
Sorry.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Scott, if you would, ordinance 18-02, please.
Ordinance number 18-02 by title only for first reading. An ordinance to the City Council of the City of South Daytona, Florida, amending section 2-323, remedies and penalties, to add subsection B8, recognizing the authority of the special master to authorize repairs to remedy code violations, and the authority of the City Council to declare dangerous structures and authorize the structure removed as possible remedies for existing code violations, providing for severability, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date.
I need a motion, please.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Yarborough, discussion.
All right, I may,
You want me to do it since I did it?
why don't you go ahead? It's essentially housekeeping. but
Yeah, it's just
I need
housekeeping.
it.
It was just to make sure it was clear. We adopted an ordinance that's referenced in here in 2015 that could be interpreted as, the intent was to expand our options, but it didn't incorporate the options we already had for dealing with code enforcement, so I didn't want it to be limited that we always had to go to court to enforce our codes in terms of making repairs on the property. We currently utilize the special master to issue orders to do repairs, and then also if a structure gets into such a bad state, it can come here to be declared a public nuisance and demolished by this body. So I just want to make sure it's clear in there we still retain those options.
Now, this would work hand in hand in the property appraiser's plan to...
It's all part of code enforcement. The property appraiser's plan that we've been meeting, I met with him on, and It's going to allow us to go and make repairs and spend public funds to repair property, and then treat that money as a special assessment that will go on the tax bill that has a priority status of being repaid. Now, it's not fines, it's just money we spend. And so it's a tool to help with code enforcement, but it's not it's not actually making the repairs, it's us getting reimbursed for making the repairs.
Get our money back.
Yeah, it increases the chances we get our money back. Because what happens, we can put it on the fine right now, but that, when it gets recorded, it just gets recorded in line with everything else. We're behind everybody else who's been recorded, and these type of properties typically have, mortgages in default, could have tax liens, all this other stuff that take precedent over us, and when they get foreclosed, our lien goes away and we don't get paid. So it's one thing not to get paid the fine, it's another thing not to get paid the public funds back that we spend repairing the property.
Makes sense?
Any other discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10 on the agenda is unscheduled comments, or unscheduled items, council member comments.
Vice Mayor, if we can start with you, sir.
Sure. I want to say that I've been out there reaching out a lot lately with the football season stuff. The trees that they put along the wall and stuff, definitely making a difference there. And I see the solar trees are out there, so I'm waiting for kids to throw frisbees and shoes on top of them, but they're just a big, huge target waiting for that. But they're coming in, they're neat. I think I get asked 5 times a night, what are those things? What are those things? Solar trees. What are they for? They're solar trees.
Charge your phone.
Exactly. Like solar tree isn't evident enough. So, only thing again, I think you guys are all getting, I apologize if I'm redundant on a lot of the advocacy and stuff, so getting the opportunity to serve on a group of the Florida League or the Volusia League. And so as we talked already tonight, lots of attacks on home rule and things like that. It's getting rough in Tallahassee right now. I personally, let me apologize, I'll be out of state for the 2 meetings coming up, but I will be forwarding some questions to the city manager for the school board meeting. I think I've been a little outspoken on some of those things, so I'm very disappointed to be missing that meeting, but happy to know that the school board is meeting with us and hopefully give us some direction. So with that, that's all I have.
Councilwoman Long.
Yeah, no comments tonight, thank you.
No comments tonight, thank you.
I have 2 quick ones. One, thank everybody that came out to the Kalen Courtier ride we had 2 weeks ago. Chief, thanks for the good job. We had about 70 riders. It all went well with Citizens Alert, and I know that most of y'all will be at the shores for the Volusia League of Cities event, but I won't be there. I'll be at the Jeep and Eats event down in the Sunshine Park Mall that the staff worked so hard to organize. And I appreciate all the help with all of it. And in reference to big targets, I noticed a football bounced off the hot dog wagon, and we've got the nice imprint from the hot dog wagon, football on the hot dog wagon the other day. So, meeting adjourned.
The solar trees.